Welcome, everybody, to episode number 12 of the Matt Mettler broadcast. So JJ's up here from Texas right now. So what should we talk about, Jay? What did you come up to Denver to do?
Well, I came up, my girlfriend is from here, obviously. I don't know why that would be obvious to you because you know her. But my girlfriend Yolanda is from Colorado.
Okay.
She grew up here. She went to Harrison.
Oh, really? Our rivals.
It's like her only flaw.
Is that what made her so sexy? Is like opposites attract, right?
It almost made us not be able to talk to each other. But her birthday was Monday, and so I brought her up here for her birthday to see her mother. She hasn't seen her best friend in like 9 or 10 years, and they were together. They kind of grew up together as young mothers out in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And
really?
So, yeah, Army wives. And so just, those sometimes are the best of friends you can possibly have. They've been friends for like 25 years and hadn't seen each other in about a decade. And her friend called me. She's like, if I bought the tickets to the concert, would you fly her out here? I'm like, are you kidding me? Absolutely. So I brought her up here. It's much cheaper to fly from Denver, and she could see her mom the whole 9 yards. So that was a win-win-win.
Right? Three-way win.
Yes, sir. And so got her a plane ticket to Portland. They're going to go to Eugene, Oregon, and see the Garth Brooks concert together. And
nice.
Have a great girls' weekend and live it up. And then Mackenzie was going. Her best friend's getting married as well. And not that anybody in Oregon's getting married. The things we add to sentences is tag-ons, right? It's just a mind-boggling. Mackenzie's best friend, Bree, is getting married, and they're having their bachelorette party in Missouri this weekend.
Congratulations, Bree.
Yeah, good. Zach's a good dude. Exciting for them. So Mackenzie's the maid of honor, one of the bridesmaids or something, so she's got to go to that, and Bree's one of her best friends ever. So I took Yo to the airport this morning, and don't trip that I call her Yo. That's what her mom calls her. So
bro, she's your lady. You can call her whatever you want.
That's right.
That's my old lady.
So I took Yo to the airport this morning, and then I came and met you and hung out a little bit, and then I went and picked up Mackenzie and took her to lunch and took her to the airport and like running a free Uber service up here today. So,
right? You must have done 40 miles to the airport today. Easy.
Two of my favorite ladies, though.
Yeah,
in the whole wide world, got to take them.
At least it's for gals that you really love.
Ah, man,
you know
me.
See, I was thinking I got to get some dampeners because like these are that's why I tied this. I know you thought I was representing for the Crips with this rag on
Don't
here,
underestimate
but technically I was just trying to dampen the sound coming through my mic boom arm. So I gave that a shot before you came here, and I was like, well, it's not really working.
Right?
It's at least 1 micron above better than nothing.
It's way better.
I'll take that. Man. Yeah, it's way better than nothing.
Way better than nothing. You always got to take that. Yeah, so I got a few days up here in Denver in the Springs to see some great friends, and you're top of the list, man. And
nice.
Listening to your podcast, I've listened to all 10 episodes. Like I'm bragging, like you get a medal.
You rule. That's what I'm going to say. You're awesome because you've listened to you have collected all the magical items to save the world.
Look, listen to 11 episodes. You get to be a guest on the show.
Yeah,
you got to like and comment on all of them.
I'll make that deal, man. You like and comment and watch all 10 episodes. You can be a guest on this show.
Right.
For real.
That's right. So this is perfect timing. I'm so, as happens with us often, things just tend to work out the way they're supposed to, and excited to be here, completely honored to be the first official guest.
Yes. Yeah, you are my first official guest, and that's awesome. I'm glad you could be my first official guest. That seems very fitting, because me and you have known each other so long.
Way back. How far are you going back?
So I moved to the neighborhood when I was 14 because I was in 8th grade going to North Junior.
Right. Yep.
I finished out. My mom was kind enough to let me finish out 8th grade, driving me over to North Junior and dropping me off. And instead of having to go to Panorama, right? And then I picked up right at 9th grade over at Sierra High School.
Yep. Yeah.
The best part was since I knew Nick, and you guys were best friends and best buddies, like I was in the clique, and you guys welcomed me in, which was really cool.
Yeah. Automatic. Nick and I played football together, and so we knew each other for a couple of years going into that, and so it just worked, man. We just clicked. From day one, it just clicked. And so
yeah. Have you heard from Nick at all? Or
I have, actually. I talked to him, I want to say about a year ago on Facebook. He's got a wife and kids, and I'm trying to remember where they're at. I have to look it up.
Nice, because, man, last time I saw Nick was over in Germany. He came over to visit his parents. Since his dad was stationed in Mannheim and I was stationed in Schweinfurt, I just jumped on the train, went down to Mannheim, and hung out with him. It was pretty cool.
I hear that's one of the best parts about being in Europe is just the jumping on the train and being in another country.
Totally. for a good part of the beginning of when I was there, I was afraid to get on the train. I don't know why, Jay. It was dumb, right? I was just afraid. I don't know what the hell I thought was going to happen. But after I did it a few times, I was like, man, I should have been out exploring this shit the whole time.
No doubt. I'll tell you what it is, though. Where we grew up on the south side of Colorado Springs, public transportation was not something that was viewed as a viable mode of transportation. If we had to take the bus, that was a bad day for us, you know?
Right.
And everybody we grew up with had the same kind of mentality about bus. You know, God, you don't take the bus. And we didn't have a subway or a train or any of that stuff. So you took the bus if it was a bad day and you had to get to the mall somehow.
I never thought about that, but you're right. Our bus transit system kind of sucked. It was all day.
Right, but it's not so much the system as our mentality towards the system. Because when we moved to Dallas, when we moved downtown, even before we moved downtown, we lived in Fort Worth, and we kind of commuted to Dallas. And so there were times where I would take the TRE, which is the train that would go from Fort Worth to Dallas. And it was amazing. You could sit and read a book. You could sit and take a nap. You could sit and play Words with Friends. And you can do whatever you wanted, and you'd have to worry about traffic. And nobody was cutting you off, and nobody was honking at you, and nobody was giving you the finger. And then 45 minutes later, you're there.
Right.
And when you look around on the TRE, it's full of business people. People who have obvious money because they park their Lexus in the TRE parking lot to get on the train. You know, and it's smart people. Yes, the occasional homeless person asking for money, rare. But it's just not, it's not dirty. It's not dirty. It's clean. It's nice. It's what smart professional people do in big cities.
So that you can leave your car further away and not have to do that grind drive.
And then pay for parking when you get there.
Right.
Because you got to pay for parking everywhere you go.
Denver's actually gotten a lot better with light rail in that respect,
without
right?
a doubt.
Yeah, because you can park, in a myriad of places now and just sort of jet in on the light rail, and that's actually pretty convenient as long as you don't intend to stay past like 2 a.m.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty convenient.
You can take it to the airport now. I mean,
right.
It's huge. It's a huge benefit for people. You don't have to pay for airport parking.
No kidding, right? Because they're murdering you at the airport.
Brutal.
It's like, it is ridiculous. I haven't priced it lately, but like last time I checked, it was like $17 a day minimum, and that was at the cheap lot.
I picked up one of Mackenzie's friends to take to the airport as well, and she said I was saving her easily $34.
Wow.
$35.
Oh, on an Uber?
On the parking.
Oh, on just parking.
Yeah, and then add the Uber on top of that. So, yeah, because they leave tonight and get back Sunday.
Sounds like you need the Uber app.
No doubt.
Be like, charging. That's cold-blooded, Dad. How are you going to charge me to take me to the airport?
You get the family discount rate.
Right. I'm just covering my gas.
And they did, on their defense, both offer to give me gas money, which I politely declined.
Oh, okay. That was very dadly.
That's what I do, man.
Fatherly of you to do that.
It's bad enough they got to hear a couple dad jokes on the way.
Right. So since I got you here, this is really cool because I actually get to bounce things. Normally, this is just me talking to the microphone. I don't get to have this interaction. So I was going to talk today about a little bit about how, what do you think about that Google outing itself on that whole, there was a report that came out where they show Google insiders saying that they are throttling and holding back traffic that's going to conservative people. And that they've come out of the closet and said that they are in the pocket for liberalism. And if it's not a liberal idea, they're going to try and suppress it. They basically came all the way out and said that in some of their documentation. And a big poop storm has hit the news regarding how do we trust Google at this point, knowing that they are working their hardest to influence the next election to make sure that there isn't a Trump situation. That's what they call it, a Trump situation again in 2020. What do you think about that?
So you're telling me they are who we think they are?
Well, it's interesting. They just ditched that whole "don't be evil."
Oh, yeah.
Just like a year ago, they just ditched the whole "don't be evil." It's like they went instantly from not "don't be evil" to "okay, be evil."
Yeah, go with it. Can't tell anybody what they can or cannot be.
Right.
My personal thought is, A, I'm not surprised. B, that's a pretty bold statement for a company who's thrived on the pure premise of capitalism.
Right.
Who are they to censor anybody?
I don't think they should have to.
I can look or I cannot look.
Right.
It's up to me.
Right.
I don't want somebody else making that decision for me. As an adult, as a parent, when my children were younger, yes, of course, helped my children make that decision. Now, sure, I had it a little bit easier than my kids didn't have access to things kids today have access to, but I also used parent controls.
Right.
Their phone got shut off at night and during the school day. They could only text or message myself or my wife. Period. Now, I'm sure they had ways around it, but I at least made it more difficult.
I applaud you for that.
Kids today, it seems like the parents aren't involved.
Right, hands off. Laissez-faire parenting, as we might call it.
I just saw an ad for, oh, geez, I wish I could remember what it's called. I might be able to look it up, but I want to say, it's not Watchdog, but they kind of watchdog your children's social media.
Oh.
And so they will monitor it all for you. And in any instance of bullying or inappropriate language or inappropriate pictures or things that you as a parent decide you don't want your children to be involved in, you get notified right away.
Smart. Whoever's doing that, they're smart.
You have to do something. You can't just be like, oh, my kids are great kids. They're not going to do that. No, bullshit.
They're going to do that.
They're absolutely going to do that.
We did that.
Yes. And if they're not going to do it, their friends are going to do it and show it to them.
Right.
So it's going to happen. It is out there everywhere. When you and I were growing up, we hoped to find a magazine on the ground on the way home from school.
Yeah, like back then, that was when porn was stashed under somebody's bed.
And you just hope it was something you wanted to see.
Right.
And so we didn't have the access the kids have today. And nowadays, it's every time you open your phone, there's something else coming to you. And I almost feel sorry for them. They don't have the ability to focus on anything long term. They don't have the ability to truly focus on one task at a time. They're too easily distracted and annoyed. And as a teacher, they want me to entertain them. I don't do that.
You are an entertaining mofackle, though. Let's be fair.
Well, I'm real, and the kids appreciate real. I'm not going to talk to them like they're idiots.
Yeah.
If you ask me about my life, I'm going to give you the truth. If you come to me, you're talking about everybody being offended in Google and all that stuff, right? Everybody's so offended. Kids come to me all the time. Coach, I'm so pissed off. So-and-so said this about me. And I'm like, is it true? Well, no. Okay, then. But they blah, 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 doesn't matter.
Right.
You're giving them energy. Your energy is being wasted. Worrying about something that's not true? Are you kidding me? Look, who cares? I think you're amazing. I don't give a crap what they think about you. But they said about my mom, too. Is she? No. Then don't worry about it. Right. You have the power. Quit giving it away to people who don't deserve to have it.
Truth.
So.
Nice.
Yeah, and you have to walk through it yourself. You never learn from somebody else saying it or doing it. But once you figure that part out, once you figure out it really doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about me, so be it.
Well, and there's a magical form of relief that comes when you finally when you stop caring so much about stuff that doesn't mean that much in the grand scheme of things, right? And move on and the world's complicated enough without overthinking what other people are worried about or thinking about.
Totally. And it's not to say don't have a worldview and don't be apathetic and don't care about the world or the planet or the people in it, but you have no effectiveness outside of your little circle if your own little circle is a circus.
Good point.
If your own life is a shit show, fix that.
Focus on that first.
Right. And by God, don't give anybody else any advice. Please. I've seen your work. No.
You got to get the train on the track before you can start giving guidance to other people.
Right.
That's a really good observation for sure, man. All right. The Google thing is disturbing.
Very.
It's very disturbing.
I feel like we wrap that one up.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
And in a way, me either. But to find out how incredibly intent they are on producing a specific outcome makes me understand that, the word fascism gets thrown around a lot. So much so that most people don't actually know what its definition is.
Right.
But I mean, if you look at, a lot of people don't know this, there are two symbols of fascism in the chambers of Congress. There's two symbols of fascism right there on the wall. So for people to think that we're not a fascistic country is maybe they need to check their history.
What are the symbols?
A fascist symbol looks like an axe with a bunch of branches tied to it.
Got it. Yeah.
Right. It's a whole. And the idea behind that is a single skinny branch would break, but all the branches bound together create an axe that can't be broken and that is tough. And that's supposed to be symbolic of the people.
Right.
Right. And fascism means to stand together, to be together. But now we're getting into
good and noble.
Right. But now we're getting into this weird corporate fascism where it's all about the corporate's interests. And that is a very scary Orwellian kind of future we're headed to.
Yeah, Facebook and Orwell are just not surprised that Orwell doesn't work there.
Right, it's like a manual for what they did.
God dang. I happened to teach 1984 2 years ago to seniors, for my seniors' Brit Lit class. And it happened to be the most popular book in America at the time. Weird, considering it was written in 1948.
Right.
But so much of it's so pertinent to what's happening in the world today, and the oversight and the control and the thought police is the big one.
Yes.
What you are allowed to think and what you are not allowed to think.
Right.
What? Are you serious? And these kids are all, they get it. But I got hurt. I had a work injury, and so I was out for like a week and a half, and I left a note on the board that says, if you catch any of your classmates not doing work, sleeping, or cheating, send me an email, and I'll give you 10 bonus points to your grade from their grade.
How did that work?
Not a single kid reported anybody.
Wow. I'm impressed, actually.
So I was floored.
Because I would have thought they'd all be throwing each other under the bus, right?
I was like, even nobody reported Benny?
Benny, I don't know who you are, but you must be a troublemaker.
He was. Benny Ortiz. That kid, great kid, though. What a lot of fun. He's doing well. He's in college now.
Nice.
Yeah, so they go through their phases and they go through their spells, and some of them push more than others, and some of them just are just great, and some of them just check out and don't care, and you can't help them. I can't help them all. I want to so bad, but I can't help them all.
Right.
But all 3 classes, nobody reported anybody.
Wow.
And
I'm impressed.
Yeah, and they protected each other. And even when I came back and I was begging, you got a C, I'll give you an A. Tell me who didn't do the work. Who copied off of you? I'm good, coach. I earned a C.
Wow.
All right.
They're ready to be Rangers.
Maybe there's hope, right?
Right. Maybe I'm glad you said that, because when I look at what's going on, it does seem to be that there is hope. All hope is not lost. There is an entire group of people out there that are totally getting it and that are waking up, and more people wake up every day. I hope that continues, but there is a battle to keep a certain group of people sleeping and just walking sheep. Yes.
Sheeple. Yeah, and you'll never hear about the kids who aren't like that. Those are the ones who get all the attention. Those are the ones who get all the media spotlight. And whether you're pro-Democrat or pro-Republican, there's a group of young Republicans who are out battling just as hard as the socialist Bernie Sanders people are battling for what they believe in, freedom and democracy and those things. And you never hear about those kids. You never see them on the news. You never see any of their things happening nationally, but they are, and they're happening just as well, and they are working their butts off for what they believe in. So there's a lot of hope out there in the younger generation. We just have to look for it and find it.
Right. I think something that I've learned watching all of this stuff unfold is that the left is better at organizing protests and being loud. The right is better at using the internet and memes and things like that to get their message out there, right? And each group has its own strengths and weaknesses.
Totally. And just like both parties have their strengths and weaknesses as well. So people always ask me, Republican, Democrat, who'd you vote for? Who'd you vote for? And I always tell them, it's not about voting for a person. It's about voting for the ideals that I think are important.
Yeah.
And for me, it's don't become a socialist country.
Agreed.
That's number one for me, is don't become a socialist country. I work too hard. I deserve to keep what's mine. If I want to be richer, I can go work harder. If I want to be broke, I can not work. So
right.
I don't hold anybody else responsible for where I'm at in my station in life.
I'm glad you brought that up, because why does socialism look so appealing to young people? Is it because they just don't really know that much about it? Is it because they don't have a real background in what socialism is?
Yeah, that's partially it, but a lot of it's going to be the glamour of free college, free healthcare. Free, everything's free, and everybody should go to college. We'll pay for it. Come on, somebody's paying. Nothing's free,
right?
And oh yeah, we know nothing's free. We're willing to pay our taxes. That's everybody gets a fair shot. What?
Right?
No, I went back to college as a grown up with a wife and 3 kids. College classes are much different when you're paying for them out of your own pocket.
Yeah. I paid for my stuff entirely on my own. 17 G's all myself.
Right. And be in a class and be talking in the back of my class when I'm paying for that shit. Hey, shh. What? Hey, look, I paid for my class. Your mom's paying for yours. You can shut up or you can leave.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
So it's just a big difference. I think everybody should serve 4 years or at least 2 years of military service before even thinking about college. What would that military service be like? We don't need to put all those people in danger. Well, they could do service projects. They could clean up parks. They could clean up highways. They could mentor other kids, teach reading, help in summer school. There's 1,000 things they can do.
Right. Military is not just combat jobs.
Right. And they might come away from that with a greater appreciation for our country, for their life, for their position in life, and for their talent. Maybe they find what they're good at instead of wasting 2 years taking nonsense classes to figure out they don't want to take a major in liberal arts.
Or underwater basket weaving.
Something, right. You know what I mean? Like, there should be mandatory, probably can't be mandatory because it's America and we're about freedom, but there should be some kind of requirement. Like, maybe you do 2 years of military service and we'll give you military money for going to college.
Yeah.
What is that?
GI Bill.
GI Bill, right?
Yeah.
And so Why not? Okay, I'd support that.
Well, and I mean, it is a pretty good deal in the sense of if you don't have a mechanism to save a lot of money, the GI Bill is actually a really good deal, right? Like I got a lot of money out of the Army for doing 2 years and 3 months.
Huge.
So yeah, they give you a lot of money to go to the Army for sure.
It's amazing to me that 1% of our population partakes in that. 1%.
Wow.
Seems like it should be higher.
Right. You know, I just saw something that said that they're really having trouble with finding enough candidates that are qualified and not too obese to even be in the military now.
That doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah, America's kind of headed to the path of obesity, and I battle that myself.
You and me both, brother.
Yeah, so, you know, I don't want to get judgy on people.
No judgment from me. The only time I judge you is if you give me an essay.
Thanks.
Or I'll judge your grammar on Facebook.
or in my text messages. When you're text messaging a teacher, you got to be really careful about which version of "there" you use. Things like that. They'll correct you. It's okay, though. Yeah, I'm glad.
And I always text in complete sentences with proper punctuation. I don't do all that other nonsense.
You don't shorten it down or anything like that? You don't do...
I teach English. I can't.
Good point. I suppose you cannot do that.
I get mad when Words With Friends tells me, that is a valid Words With Friends word. Unfortunately, there's no definition for that word. Say what? Then it's not a word. That doesn't count.
What do you think about the hijacking of words and people trying to give words new meanings? Or, I mean, that is part of the Orwellian newspeak thing, is where you take words, you demonize them. I think back to when we were kids, we used to use a word all the time, and you can't say that word anymore.
Right.
And so once upon a time, we did not say that word to mean a gay person.
No.
We just said that word to mean anybody who was really annoying got that name assigned to them.
Yeah.
And once upon a time, it actually meant the newest, lowest person at a boarding school.
It's also a cigarette.
Right. In England, it's also a cigarette, right? So it makes me kind of upset that you got this group of people who are like, no, that word means us. It's like, no, it doesn't. It can mean a lot of different things. It's about context, right?
Right. Well, when you eliminate context, all bets are off. But taking words and demonizing them and changing their meaning is, from the time we've started to speak, has been a part of the process. And so words grow and evolve over time, and I think that's a good thing. I do hate what you're talking about, that we can't use certain words now, really. My daughter works with special needs kids and hates, and she's worked with tons of autistic kids. She's really gifted. Hates if I use the word retard. If I say that's retarded, Dad. Oh. And I've really worked on it, so I seldom say it anymore. Do I agree with her? No, but you know what? I love her. I appreciate her. I respect what she does. I respect her passion in life for that. She's important enough for me to change that.
I don't know where the word retarded got this negative. They tried to associate a negative connotation to it that it didn't actually used to have. When it was applied in the beginning, they tried to use it as compassionately as possible, right? It's like you weren't trying to slam on somebody saying they were retarded. You were merely trying to say they weren't at the same level as other people.
Like an engine retarder.
Or at the bakery, we called the refrigerator the retard box. Because it retards spoilage.
Oh, there you go. It slows down spoilage.
It slows down spoilage, right? So we called it the retard box, but there's just too many people are too upset over stupid stuff like that.
But I don't think that's a stupid one, because those kids, that's how they refer to those people now. Those kids, all those kids, and those even the grown-ups now, you know. And to see the hurt in her eyes for a child who's been hurt by that word is what got me.
You were ready to concede the point just so that her feelings weren't hurt.
Right, and that because she's that important to me. Now, I've got lots of gay friends. I guess because I love all people, I really don't care about that stuff. So I've got lots of close gay friends. And I can pick up the phone and call them up and say, what's up? What's up? You know, and they just laugh.
And they don't get bent out of shape.
No, well, you're right. Well, we are.
Yeah.
You know? You call them, hey,
but
it's a term of endearment because they know I actually care about them as human beings and as people. And so I think once you establish that level of relationship, I can't go down to World Pride right now and scream out, you effing I love you all. You know what I mean? So that wouldn't go over well.
We did the same thing. I've taken back the word cracker. Who was it? Al Sharpton? And said, I thought cracker was a term of endearment. and yet, contrary to what they might believe, it's not. But I'm like, okay, let's go with that. Let's use it as a term of endearment. What's up, my cracker? How you doing? And so I just kind of rolled with it. It's like, if you're going to try and reappropriate the N-word in that way, well, then I can use the word cracker. I am one.
The N-word's a tough one.
Right.
Because I work in my high school right now, it's about 80% African American, and it's the most common word I hear all day long. It bothers me. A, because they say it so much. B, because I'm not allowed to say it. Do I want to say it? No, that's not the point. But why can they? Well, they're just using it the right way. This Nigga, you know, because we're not saying the ER word. It's in it, you know, and
right.
Doesn't matter.
Goes back to context.
Right.
Right. That word has everything to do with the context in the way that it's used.
If you're African American. Right. There's no context where you and I are permitted to use that word. Maybe with each other.
Right.
But I don't think I would call you that. But kids tell me all the time, you're a real one, Coach. Coach O's a real one. And they don't say all that. They just say, you're a real one, you know. And so this because I'm a real person, you know. I'm like completely honest with them. Sit down. You know? Sit down before I sit you down.
Well, and you know, you're not small either. So you got that going for you.
Yeah, there was like, what's your classroom management style? 6'2", 260.
That helps.
Yeah,
that helps.
The context of that N-word, though, is just either it's going to be allowed for everybody or nobody should say it.
And I agree with you on that. My personal feelings on it is if black people would like for the N-word to go away, they should quit using it too.
Right.
Because nothing would help the N-word kind of die in popularity than them not using it anymore.
It would completely die because it's all over all their music and it's everywhere. They get bombarded with it 24/7. It's astounding to me how prevalent it is now. When you and I were growing up, you didn't hear a lot of cursing unless you were with just your friends.
Right.
So you knew when to curse and when not to curse.
Right. And we never cursed in mixed company, like around parents or something.
Good
Never.
Lord, no.
Never.
But now it's so 24 constant bombardment into their eardrums and in their eyes on the social media. It's everywhere all the time. They have no filter. They don't have a frame of reference for when it's acceptable to curse and when it's acceptable not to curse. That's difficult as a teacher.
Right.
Lots of teachers get upset and write up 1,000 referrals, and I'm just like, I always make them pick a different word. So they say, that bitch. I'm like, that who? That girl. Oh, it sounded funny over here. Sorry. And so I just help them reframe the situation and pick a different word. And every time I make them pick a different word, they just kind of smile and laugh about it. My N-word. You're what? I'm sorry, who? My ninja.
There you go.
I got you, Coach.
My nickel.
Yeah.
What's up, my nickel?
My good friend Demetrius.
Right.
They gave me their white man voice. It's hilarious.
My good friend Demetrius.
As I was saying. That's how I control the problem. And does it help? I think it helps a smidgen, but it helps more the more time I'm there. So when I left the last school, I was there for 4 years. Kids knew. Walking down the hallway, students I didn't have knew to watch their language around me, or they're going to have to pick a different word. Not a big deal. If you're a football player, it might make you do 10 push-ups. You know, you got to be better than that.
Right.
So this year, I think it helped in the classroom a little bit. Did not help at all in the hallway yet, but it definitely helped in the classroom. So I don't know. If more people would just censor their children. Does your mother know you talk like that? Yeah. She's worse than I am.
See, that's examples right there.
Yeah. How do you combat that?
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, and programming, right? Because that word becomes programmed into your lexicon. And one of the things that's messed up is, for me, that's your cell phone making all that noise.
Oh, my fault.
I think it is.
Now we know why it all works.
Sometimes I catch myself thinking that word, and I don't even want to do that. Technically, I want to try and abandon that word, the N-word. I want to try and just not even touch it anymore.
It's such a predominant thing that I hear so much that I completely avoid it. And so I just spend a lot of time trying to get rid of it. It's as common a word as the.
That would make it the second most common word.
It's so versatile. Like the F word is so versatile. It could mean 1,000 different things depending on how you use it. The same way with the N word. And there's a richness of language there that you hate to lose. But when it has that edge that is so hot, so tied to the bad part of history, I think you're losing that richness of the word itself is worth losing. Now, I'm not one who wants to go take down statues and erase history, because that's way too 1984 for me.
Right.
Look, it happened.
Well, and I don't think we should be allowed to erase that stuff. There's a reason you're supposed to remember that these things happened.
Well, everybody's mad they were glorifying Confederate soldiers. Are we really glorifying them anymore?
I don't think so.
We built a statue like 80 years ago.
Well, and how does that exactly glorify somebody? Nobody even cares anymore.
Well, the words in the marble say about what a great man he was. But he had slaves, and he beat slaves, and he hung slaves, and he lynched people and raped women, and why does he have a statue? Well, what can we learn?
Right.
The victor writes the history. So that was the history that was written. And so now here's a statue of a guy who you've read in a textbook is portrayed very differently. What can we learn?
Right.
Do we still glorify people like this? Or have we learned from this and now we vilify people like that for these things? It gives you an opportunity to have a discussion, to have a frame of reference. If we erase it all, guess what's going to happen again? All of it.
Right. That's exactly right. You know, people that forget their history are doomed to repeat it.
I've believed for a long time that you can't learn anything from someone else's mistake. If you could, there'd be no more mistakes being made. All the mistakes have been made, and they're going to continue to be made. I didn't learn anything from anyone else's mistakes. And I'm an avid reader, and I love the movies, and I've seen every scenario that could possibly be played out thousands of times. And I still make the same mistakes. We're humans. That's how we truly learn, is from making our own mistakes. You think kids would still be dropping out of high school and getting married and pregnant at that age if they learned from somebody else's mistakes? It's been happening since the 50s.
Good point.
Since the 20s.
That's a very good point, actually.
We don't learn from anyone else's mistakes.
You know, maybe individuals do, but the masses or the group, not so much.
Well, I don't think individuals do at all. I think maybe groups have a potential to. Like as a country, we can learn from the mistakes of the past. We know that we're going to avoid enslaving people.
Right. Yeah, we weren't even here when all that stuff was going on, man.
Yeah, but my lineage apparently traced back to John Adams and John Quincy Adams, so I guess people
Really?
in my lineage did probably own slaves. I didn't grow up that way.
I don't believe that you and I have any obligation to feel any guilt for that, right? I wasn't there. It didn't have anything to do with me. It wasn't my decision. Yeah. So to me, it's like if you're 4 generations removed, then what you owe is a debt of gratitude to your grandparents who paid the price, who paid the cost for you.
Correct.
To have the life, the amazing opportunities that you have.
Just like all the sports people will get there and they say, if it weren't Jackie Robinson, none of this would be possible. All right, so great. That's it. That's the end all and be all. You can't rewrite the history of the country and try to make up for a bunch of bad shit that happened. Now, you just can't. Part of the history and the fabric of this country, it's part of what makes us a great country, is learning from the atrocities on all sides and becoming better people.
And not making the same mistakes again.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing with the Holocaust about never again. Well, it's not going to be never again if we forget about that or if we're not allowed to talk about that.
Oh, right.
You know?
Yeah, people already don't know what it is.
Right.
And then there's still genocide happening in other countries.
Right.
It's not happening here. Genocide obviously happened here with the Native Americans, but it hasn't happened since. This is a history lesson all of a sudden, and I'm not up for it.
We can always switch gears because I have a bunch of other stuff.
Oh, good. Please.
So one of the other things that I was going to talk about was our government is so incredibly bloated and inefficient. And that bugs the crap out of me, Jay. How do we make the freaking government smaller? Is that possible?
Yeah, you've got to decide that you're willing to forego a lot of the red tape bullshit.
I'd be all for it.
So would I. But then there's always somebody who's going to say it wasn't fair, it wasn't right. And I just think it's the system that we've allowed ourselves to create. And so the only way to uncreate it is to go through and vote the people out of office who are creating those things and reevaluate the whole system. Run it more like a business.
Right. And I agree with you. I would like to see the government act more like a business and less like some weird entity that it is.
And real quick, I think it's got to start at the local level.
Right.
And then it can't come from the top down. It's going to have to start at the local level, work its way up. School districts are heavy at the top. We can get rid of 18 of those people in every office and still be fine.
Right.
Those people trying to tell me how to do my job haven't been in a classroom in 15 years, and I don't think you know anymore.
Well, and actually, those people make entirely too much money for the amount of value that they bring. Totally. See, that goes back to running things like a business, right? The government gets to run with the mechanism of inefficiency that businesses are not allowed to operate with, period.
They'd be out of business.
They'd be out of business in a hot second if they ran like the government does.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. So, like, one of the things that I was going to talk about is that I feel like our government is like a child that's grown out of control and is now abusing everybody, right? And it doesn't listen to anybody, and it's a beast unto itself. And the government now monitors and controls the people to an Orwellian extent. And I try to think and imagine, like, how do we escape out from underneath that? How do we break that machine, that beast? Because it's just gone way off the rails.
I completely agree with you, and I don't know that it's possible. I mean, it is truly a toddler who's out of control and a big bratty baby who's grown up to be a bully.
Yes.
And it bothers me that the feelings of one or few can control the majority. That's disturbing to me. But the government has taken upon itself to be the decider.
Right.
We'll decide.
They were supposed to be I guess they were always supposed to be the referee, and they were just supposed to level the playing field for the people, right? They weren't supposed to meddle.
I hate that saying level the playing field.
It implies that there was ever a level playing field to begin with.
Right.
Right.
But it also implies that we need to level the playing field.
That we got to handicap the best so that they're in line with the everybody else. Yeah.
Right, which is not the way to live life.
Right. And it's not a formula for success.
Totally not. And so how do we break that? It's going to have to take some kind of epic collapse, in my opinion. I don't know that. I think it just keeps growing and getting out of control until I don't know what happens.
Until it breaks.
And then what happens when it breaks in this country?
I saw this thing from this big-time conspiracy theorist guy, and he was talking about how we have a misnomer in our minds about how governments break up. We think that some magic date comes and they just break up. But actually what happens is a breakdown takes place for 3, 4, or 5 years, right? It breaks down, and then the day comes where it collapses under its own weight. But it takes a long time. It goes through where you call the fire department, they don't come. You call the police, they won't answer. They're overwhelmed, and they got too much stuff going on, not enough budget. Sorry, we can't help you.
Right. So that's probably also at the local level where that starts.
Yeah.
I mean, Dallas right now is 300 officers less than they had 4 years ago or something.
I saw that they're really struggling to hire people, and I think it has something to do with the reputation of the Dallas Police Department or something.
Some to do with that. Some to do with the pay compared to surrounding suburbs.
Oh, okay.
Is a big factor. The reputation within the department of being, I wouldn't say Chicago corrupt, but kind of the good old boy network. People can get away with things if they knew the right people kind of thing, and it's crazy everywhere. So they're struggling to keep up with the pressures of the demands of the city. It's a big place.
It's huge.
Amazingly.
I mean, coming from Denver, which is a huge metropolitan area, when I went to Dallas-Fort Worth, I was like, my God, it just goes on and on and on and on for like ever.
I can drive for 3 hours and still be in the Metroplex.
Yeah, it's insane. I agree. Like from a police perspective,
Now, that's not all Dallas County, obviously. Dallas City is small not small, but it's downtown, and it's just one small part of that Metroplex, but still.
Right.
That's a big, Dallas itself, the city of Dallas is huge, and has so many different variables in it. They talk all the time about response times.
When seconds count, the police are only minutes away.
How do you fix that without raising taxes?
Right.
And now we're back to the system we created.
I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that we have to come to realize as a group of people is that government cannot solve all our problems. And they love to promise that they can fix our problems, but they don't. They waste an awful lot of money trying to wrap their brain around how to fix it. But then years later, what they manage to do is build an entire bureaucracy around that thing, and then they don't ever want it to go away.
Right.
Like food stamps and assistance and all of these programs where the original intent is to try and help folks get back on their feet, but it kind of traps them in this cycle where they can't make more than a certain amount or they lose their benefits.
Right.
And it creates people that are trapped in that.
Totally. And that's terrible. A terrible place to be as a young family. If you're using that thing as an honest-to-goodness way to better your life and feed your children and find a job and do the right things, then yes, it's a great system and it's working the way it's supposed to. But when you're not, and abusing the system, and what's the percentage of people who are abusing the system compared to those using it appropriately?
Right.
Who knows? How much bureaucracy would it take to figure that out?
Right.
I don't know. I don't have those answers. I mean, it's such a big problem, and every single little piece of it you look at is a gigantic problem to solve.
Right. The political will to make the tough choices, not there.
At all.
Non-existent.
So who should feed the homeless? Churches.
Right. I agree. Not the government.
Right. Exactly. That's not the government's problem.
Yeah. The government should not be in the charity business. I think they do a terrible job. Like, get rid of FEMA. They don't even do a good job. We could take all that money that we waste on FEMA and we could just spend it on something else that gets more return on investment.
Absolutely agree. It almost takes an organization of that magnitude to do something of that magnitude. So, like, we want to create homeless shelters. Well, is a company going to do that? Probably not. An organization needs to be funded by somebody to do that. The government said, well, we're going to take all that FEMA money and we'll fund you. Okay, but because we're funding you, we got this book, 8 inches thick, of red tape and checklists and bureaucratic bullshit to make sure that it's going where it's supposed to go and doing the right things it's supposed to do. And without this oversight, we can't make this happen, and now it doesn't work.
That's true. That's true. We've created a beast where fraud, waste, and abuse run rampant.
Oh, my girlfriend works for the Department of Defense.
And And never was more money lost than in that whirlpool.
Holy crap.
That vortex sucks up just billions and billions of dollars, and we never see them.
People intentionally suck at their job and can't get fired.
Right. That is one of the things I find very frustrating about government employees. Every single person has dealt with, at some point, a smug government employee that just knows you can't get rid of them. Mm-hmm. And we all hate dealing with those people.
Right. And just like everything else, just like every facet of every possible walk of life, good apples and bad apples.
Right. We have been recording for 55 minutes now. 12 and 13 probably, yeah.
Damn, my phone. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm addicted.
It's kind of funny how
not addicted, but
you can't see those waves, but you can hear them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's a
you need a break or what else?
I was going to say we probably should just take a break. It's kind of hot in here. I was going to run the air for a minute just to kind of cool it down in here a little bit.
Let's get back. Let's talk about something more exciting than the government.
Yes. Anything besides the government. Okay, we'll be back with part 2.
Word.
To all my listeners, I just want to say thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, share, and talk about it with your friends. And make sure that you join me for the next episode of the Matt Mettler Podcast.
The Matt Mettler Podcast is a Matt Mettler production. Copyright 2019.